You have men in your recovery center, right?
Yes.
And there are so many forms of gender-based violence.
Yes.
What are some of the men there saying happened, or what is their story?
So
which is the most common form of abuse for the men in your recovery center?
Yes. So most of the common form of abuse would be emotional. And interestingly, the emotional abused men will not come to the center. Very few of them will. Because we also do a lot of community awareness and awareness in different existing structures across the country. That's where the men would come out and say, this and this is happening. And there are male engagement sessions that happen. So there they'll talk about the emotional abuse. Or in social spaces, as much as you try to avoid, once they realize that myself or my colleagues work in a gender violence recovery center, then they will open up. And there's once I went and sat somewhere and suddenly I had 5 men I didn't know, and they were busy opening up about the abuses they are undergoing in their relationships with their wives, with their partners. So that's one. 2, physical violence would be the next one. So we've received men who've had hot water poured on them, burns, serious burns, hot oil. We've received men who've had their penises cut. You know, there's a year we had like 4 of them. There's a year one came with their balls, you know, in a paper. So it happens, yes. So men undergo physical violence. The next form of violence by men would be sexual violence. So I've seen men who've been sodomized. I've seen men who've undergone even gang rapes. And as you earlier said, you said something about kangumu. The men that I've seen who've been violated are also very keen on who treats them. So for example, they might not want me to go and visit them, you know, in the wards or in the casualty. They'd want male. So we also have male colleagues who are able, you know, counselors and medics and all that, to be able to provide that. And then not a lot of them, but I've also met men who would really, as you say, kangumu, would want to keep it to themselves. So whereas the women will try and bring their partners or their support systems, the men would want to go through it by themselves. So they will not tell their partners. I've met men who really do not want to tell their partners that they are taking PEP, the post-exposure prophylaxis for HIV. They just want to keep it to themselves. They're home, they're just quiet, you know. They would come back for counseling sessions and support groups and say, my wife is wondering what's happening. Though we encourage, you know, let's have this conversation and share and all that. So they really keep quiet. When you talk about kangumu, men will only come to the center, as I said, when it's serious physical, severe injuries, mostly, or it's been repetitive violence. It's now at the mefika mwisho, you know. And I've met men who, I've met a boy, for example, who came to the center, was about 23 years old. He had been sodomized when he was much younger, and this is the only time he told the father. And this is the time then they're coming for help. So yeah, there are all those dynamics about.